Law of dominance. To find out characters are transferred from parents to offspring, Mendel performed the following experiments with pea plant. He took one pure tall pea plant and crossed it with a pure dwarf plant and observed the progeny of the F1 generation first, that is first filial generation. He found that all F1 plants were tall as shown below. You can see this tall plant. It contained two factors, capital T, it was pure tall, and crossed with the dwarf plant, small t. So before reproduction it will produce gametes. So these two factors, capital T were separated during gamete formation. They produced two kinds of gamete, both were capital T. Similarly, dwarf plant produced two gametes, small t and small t. Let us consider one was male, another was female. So these capital T, which was a male, and a small t, if we considered is at the female, then if this gamete, if meets with this gamete, that is one male gamete meets with female gamete, then it will be capital T, small t, and it will be a tall plant. Again, capital T, small t, it will be a tall plant, and then capital T, small t, with this one again will be a tall plant, and capital T and this gamete, small t, they will unite to form a tall plant, capital T. So all the plants obtained in F1 generation were tall. Next, he performed another experiment. He then took the cell pollinated the F1 plant, which were tall. After cell pollination means male and female were having the same combination, capital T, small t. They will first form gametes. So the gametes produced were male. Suppose we think this as male and this as female. So they have, males were capital T, small t gametes, and female had capital T, small t gametes. Now when one male gamete unites with the female gamete, this combination capital T will be obtained. When this small t unites with this capital T, then capital T, small t will be obtained, and then this gamete will unite, it can also unite with this gamete also, either this gamete or this gamete. Anyhow, it will be capital T, small t, and if this gamete unites with this one, it will be small t. Now you can see there were all three tall plants and one dwarf also appeared, though he crossed he crossed two F1 plants which are looking tall. They were tall, but they also produced one dwarf plants, and the ratio of tall is to dwarfness was 3:1. The phenotype was 3 tall and 1 dwarf, but the genotype, if we see what is the genotype, capital T1, 2 capital T, small t, and 1 small t. So this capital T was pure tall, and these capital T, small t, they were the heterozygous tall, and capital small t was homozygous dwarf. They were pure dwarf. They were pure tall, and they were heterozygous. They had one capital T, one small t. So thus we can find this ratio 3:1 can be also converted into 1:2:1. So what do we learn from this experiment which the Mendel performed? We learned that we can learn that number one, that the F1 all plants were tall. Dwarfness was not shown. Dwarfness was not shown in the F1 generation. Only tall plants were shown. This gave the law of dominance, which says that if a pair of contrasting characters or traits are crossed, only one shows itself in the F1 generation, that is known as dominant, and the one does not show itself, which is known as recessive. So one which showed itself was tallness. So it was tall was the dominant over the recessive dwarf character. Now it also showed that in the F1 tall plants which we obtained all looking tall, but they were not all tall, because when self-pollinated they produced dwarf also, and the ratio was 3:1, that is 3 tall and 1 dwarf. Where from the dwarf appeared, it means F1 contained the factor for dwarfness, which it did not show in the F1 generation.